So it is sorority recruitment week at SEC schools.
Oh, yeah.
And Abby has some experience here.
Yeah, it starts later this week. So a couple of years ago, my answer wouldn't have been 5 best friends. It would have been 200 best friends. We all live in the same house and we do everything together and we're the best. Yeah, if you couldn't tell by the sound of my voice, I was a sorority girl back in the college days. And I was kind of wondering when Bama Rush was starting up because it's always such a phenomenon on TikTok where girls will do like get readies with me and share their outfits. And it's sort of like watching the Olympics, but for girlhood. We're like, is Susie going to get Alpha Delta Chi? Like, what is she going to make it to the next round? We get very invested in their journeys.
Yeah, the show certainly is not geared to somebody like me and my age. So I gave it got so much street talk last week that I thought, okay, I'll at least give it like 45 minutes to see what everybody's talking about. It sucked.
Well, the docuseries was not what people were expecting.
No, it wasn't.
People wanted more of an inside look as to the tradition surrounding sorority recruitment, which it really is like everything that you think sorority recruitment, like any stereotypes you have about it, like is probably true. Like it is one of the things that actually lives up to some of the secrecy and some of the weird things that go down when it comes to selecting through thousands of potential new members to get chosen for these sororities. Like a lot of those stereotypes are really true, which is why I think people wanted like an inside look from a documentary, because for the first time it'd be kind of like public knowledge, whereas up until now it's kind of been like an inside secret. Like if you've gone through sorority recruitment, like you know what it's about.
So what is it about that we didn't see in the documentary?
Well, I mean, and every sorority does it different. Like everybody has a different selection process. And I don't know like what I can and can't say about my own process, but I have heard from other houses, like you're staying up until 2 a.m. after the recruitment to go through a slideshow of photos of P&Ms. And I know for some houses, and this is just based off of hearsay, but
Potential new members.
Potential new members, sorry.
Appreciate that.
I said it once, I thought I could use the acronym now. They'll go through all of the headshots. And I know for some rounds and for some houses, based off of like your appearance, it's either a yes or a no. Like you have a little buzzer and you go yes, or you have a little buzzer and you go no. And that's how people will get cut and not get invited to the next round.
So the girls aren't actually there in front of everybody. These are pictures they're going through?
So the way sorority recruitment works is it's literally like a machine. So a lot of the houses are next to each other. So the potential new members will get lined up, sometimes in a very specific order. And you're usually in that line in a very specific order for a certain reason, depending on how badly they want you.
Yep.
And then you get filed into the house and you get matched up with a certain girl who you think you're meeting for the first time. But in reality, she knows everything about you. And you have a conversation. And based off that conversation, you will get certain feedback to the other girls, and that's how you get chosen if you get invited back to the next round or not.
The research...
Not a lot has changed since I did it back in the day.
I was very perceptive because sometimes, I mean, you would think, oh, you're top girl, you're getting put first in line. Sometimes if you're in the middle of the line, that's who they want the most.
Well, there's so much more to filter through now than when you were going through school also, because now you got the internet. So I'm assuming that they are doing like a clean sweep and looking for everything online.
Oh, yeah. I know for some houses, even beforehand, so the list will come out the summer before of like who is going through recruitment, or sometimes girls will post about it if they're stupid like me. And then people will sometimes create fake Instagram accounts so that they can stalk you. And then sometimes sorority sisters are writing in their perception of you, of what they knew about you from high school, and that gets submitted to a committee. So you could be cut before you even walk into the house based off of somebody's perception of you. And I was so naive and stupid that I didn't realize that any of that was going on. And I really blame a lot of the older girls that I know because they wouldn't be this transparent about it. They wouldn't tell me things like this. And so I'm like a baby deer walking into these houses thinking like, I'm just going to make all these new friends, not realizing this is a feminine war zone. The one piece of advice I give everyone going through recruitment is I'm always just like, screw being your authentic self. Like this is battle. Put on your best Barbie face and do whatever it takes just to survive the rounds, because it does take a toll on your self-esteem. So if you got to be fake to get the best options, do it.
See, and it's funny you have that take, because I'm like, don't do that, because if you're fake, you're going to end up in a house that you don't belong.
And you know what? That's true because I ended up having a really good sorority experience despite being as authentic as possible. When I tell you I was like the queen of oversharing through recruitment, like you couldn't get me to shut up. I was talking about other houses. I was talking about boys and fraternities. Like I broke all the rules that you're not supposed to break. And I had a really tough sorority recruitment experience because of that, because they don't want a liability of some girl who's going to have a loose tongue talking about, you know, the fraternity that they're going to get paired with or whatever. But I ended up in a house that I really did thrive in. And to be fair, it's probably because they accepted me when I was quite literally at my worst.
Now, see, if the documentary had been from this perspective, because the documentary we watch about Bama Rush was from the perspective of potential new members. It's not from the ones that are already in the house doing the recruitment, because all that stuff has to stay top secret. Like the meetings after you close the doors, after a day of talking to girls all day long, and then you have to go into the chapter room and everybody sits there and you're pulling names or you're cutting names and it gets cutthroat, and it was a lot.
It is so fascinating. Like last year I was like, it would be so interesting to interview like potential new members and people in the house and actually get the inside scoop, the things that people wanted to hear about from the docuseries, but that just like never happened from HBO or whoever produced it.
The Greek system here in the South is so different than when I was going to San Diego State, where you'd have a house here, house here. I think it was like a converted apartment complex over here and there. Then I took my son to Ole Miss and we went down fraternity row and sorority row, and the houses blew me away. These must be $10 to $12 million houses.
It's insane.
They're compounds. It's crazy. One after the other after the other. It's serious.
I know, and it seems superficial too. Like I think when I always joke, I'm like, I was a sorority girl, but all of my most important lessons that I didn't have to learn on the business side of things as like a employee, like I feel like I learned as a sorority recruitment person, like being on exec and having to deal with the politics of everything and knowing what to do and not to do taught me so many important lessons that, yes, of course, it's a really fun social place to party and drink and, you know, live in the house. But also there's so much leadership, so many leadership skills that I feel like I learned from that experience. So if you're going through it, I feel for you. Be authentic, maybe. Be fake when you need to be. But if you get into a house, know that no matter what house you end up in, it's going to be a good experience.
Do you know the personality of the house that you are rushing in order to change your personality to meet it and get in?
So there was a website that was popular back in the day. I don't know if people still go on it. It might be more Reddit friendly now, but it was called Greek Rank, and they would tell you what houses were cool and what weren't cool, and they would tell you the personalities of each house. I didn't really change my personality. I kind of am who I am, but I kind of knew when to turn things on and when to turn things off.
My best friend's daughter was telling me at San Diego State, there is that list on Reddit of the top like sororities. And if a fraternity is throwing a party and you're not in like the top 4 sororities, they won't let you in.
Wow.
Yeah, it is kind of a messed up system in some ways.
The Bert Show.